What's happening, good people? Welcome to Wes's Watch Room. In this one, we're going to be taking a look at this Corgeut Speedy Homage. Now, this one is supposed to be a newer one because it has a slimmer bezel. I don't know whether that's true or not, but you know, that's what the listing says. So anyway, what we're going to do is get this one reviewed and tell you if it's actually worth a look. So you can find a link to this one down in the description. This was, purchased with my own money, so it wasn't sent in or anything. So yeah, let's take a look at the specifications first. So diameter wise, we're looking at 41mm, and that is from here to just under the pusher. That goes up to 44.3 if you include the crown. 46.9 lug to lug, so actually nice and compact. The thickness is 13.2, but a big sum of that is the protruding crystal. We have a bog standard 20mm lug width, which is always nice to see, and that crown is 6.3mm. The case is 316L stainless steel, and the bracelet is just stainless steel, so it's not as high a grade. We do have a mineral crystal. You can see it is domed, but more on that a little bit later. A big letdown though is the 38 meters of water resistance. I really wish, that they could have perhaps bumped that up in a way to at least 50, but 30 meters is just, keep this away from water if you can. We do have a screw down crown and a screw down case back, but more on that in a little bit. Finally, to the bezel, it's a tachymeter style aluminium insert, and where it's fixed so it doesn't move at all. So let's take a closer look at this watch, and we'll actually start off with the dial. And you know what, there is a lot to like about this dial. It's got a sort of grey to black sort of shift depending on the lighting situation, so I'd call this more dark grey than I would like a deep black. There's no real texture to it, it's just got a really fine subtle texture. And I do like how those subdials pop and contrast off it, because they've got a different finish. They've got a radial finish with the white text, and I think that pops off quite nicely. I mean, you can just see from this distance, and even if I sort of pull it back a little bit, you can see how the subdials do pop off that. So speaking of the subdials, we have 3 in total. So we've got a running small seconds at the bottom, a 24-hour at the 3, and then a 60-minute timer at the 9 o'clock. So it's got 2 very useful ones. One, I guess that's all about personal preference, whether you like 24 or whether you don't. As for the hands, a bit of a complaint actually about this one for me. I think, they're nicely done, and they are quite legible, obviously with it being white against the darker background, but I think they're a little bit slim. Looking at the Pagani I recently reviewed, those hands are a little bit broader, and I think that just suits the watch a bit better. These ones, they're again nice, they're just too slim in my opinion. We've also got a little bit of text. Obviously you can't see it now, so I'll pop up some B-roll. It just says Corgeut and then chronograph underneath. So the text, is kept to a minimum, and it's done to a fair standard. As is all the text on the subdials as well. That's got a bit more of a sort of subtle grey hue to it, so it's not like a vibrant bright white. Minute track and everything, I think that's done to a pretty decent standard as well, and the larger batons are loomed, which you'll see later on. So all in all, for the dial, it's a little bit flat, I would say, but it does have a few nice elements too. As for the bezel, it's an aluminium insert. You can just see how nicely that plays with the light, especially when it catches on the silver tachymeter. I think it looks pretty nice, and it does look pretty great outdoors as well. It's done to a pretty decent standard. I've seen a few little things on it that could have been better. I think the spacing is not the best, and it's actually right up, and it looks like it's really on the border. So I think they could have probably sorted that out, but other than that, it's a nice little bezel. As for the size of the case, we have a brushed finish in a horizontal style, and then we've got that high polished chamfered edge above. And you know what, it's both are done to a pretty decent standard. And you have to remember, this is an affordable watch, so you're not going to be expecting super crisp and sharp lines. So they are a little bit soft, and there is a little bit of softness, especially you know, when the brushing stops. But again, you know, affordable. You can't expect like, you know, really high-end finishing on a watch like this, but it's done to a really good standard for what it costs. I also like how the you know, the bezel slopes inward as well, just to give it a little bit of character. You can also see that mineral crystal popping just there, and it does protrude above the bezel. To this side, you know, we have the typical 2 pushers, 1 crown layout. So we've got the chronograph pushers, and of course that crown, unsigned, screw down. And yeah, it would be nice to obviously see a little bit of a, you know, logo or something on there. But again, finishing, good standard. As for the case back, it's pretty much high polish. Nothing really to note there. It is screwed down though, but I wish they'd have, you know, done something a little bit different with that. And maybe gone with even a circular brushed finish, you know, because I think high polish, all high polish just, you know, can look a little bit cheap sometimes. Speaking of, you know, we have the bracelet. And this one, you know, it's a bit of a mixed bag. First of all, you know, we do have female end links, always nice to see. But, you know, there is a little bit of play and a little bit of wobble, so it's not the tightest. Also, to note, you can see they are hollow end links as well, which, you know, isn't the best. I mean, obviously they're functional, they work fine, it's affordable, so it's passable. But, you know, it's not the best. Just let me clean, you know, the polishing so you can have a better look at that. So as for the bracelet design, you know, it's pretty basic. Brushed outers, polished inners, and yeah, it's not great. It's not great, to be fair. Let's you know, be honest. I mean, the brushing is fine. You know, it's all right. That high polishing though, you can see if I get it in the right light, like there, you can see it's a little bit streaky. You know, it's not the best. So you can just see there in the light how there's like the streaks and stuff in it. So yeah, it's not the crispest or best. I've also noticed the polishing on the side does have some imperfections. I'll pop up some B-roll so you can see it now. But yeah, the polishing does have, I don't know which side it's on actually. Oh, this side, yeah. There's a few like little imperfections in the side, which is something I did note. As for the clasp, you know, we've just got a butterfly style, all high polished apart from, you know, a little bit of satinized brushing just there. You know what, it feels all right, it works all right, it gets the job done. It's nothing special. One plus point I do like about this bracelet though, we do have half links, which is always nice to see, especially for us guys, you know, with awkward wrist sizes. Articulation wise, you know, it's pretty decent. Not the best I've seen, not the worst I've seen, so bit of a, you know, mixed bag on this one. But again, you can't expect perfection at this price point. So let's pop it on wrist, and you know, we don't even need to cut. So here it is on wrist. I'll just you know, close it up for you. And there we go. So we do get a you know, really nice fit on my slim 6-inch wrist. And you know what, it wears nice. You know, I think the size is good. It's just nipping my skin a little bit. There we go. But yeah, 46.9 lug to lug, so it does fit my slim wrist very, very nicely. I don't get any overhang at all. I think the diameter I can, you know, manage just about all right. So if you've got a wrist size, you know, similar to mine, 6 inches or above, you're going to be laughing, you know, it's fine. To get this to fit me, I removed 6 links in total, but I did have to keep the half links in place for it to fit, otherwise it was too tight. But yeah, I think it wears nice, it's quite comfortable. It fits just nice and snug, but not too tight, which is what I like. You know, I don't like watches that are like really over tight, and I don't like watches that are too loose either. As for the profile, you know, the case back does protrude a little bit, so I do get a little bit of a gap just between the bottom of the watch and, you know, my wrist. No real downturn to those lugs either, so, you know, it doesn't curve the best, so again, you do get a bit of a gap. Well, I get a bit of a gap just, you know, at the ends of my wrist. But you guys, you know, might be a little bit different, and it might wear a bit different on you, because obviously, you know, we've all got different wrist sizes, we've all got different wrist shapes. And just because, you know, you've got a 6-inch wrist, it might not be the same shape as mine. So there is always that you have to consider as well. So the only true way you're going to know if it's going to fit you is by trying it, unfortunately. So all I can do is just say what my experiences is, and it's good. You know, it's a comfortable watch, not too heavy. And yeah, it's nice. I actually forgot to mention the weight. Because I didn't write it down, so I will pop that on screen now so you can actually see, and I'll pop it in the specs in the beginning as well so you can actually see how heavy this watch is. So let's pop it off wrist and talk the next point. So next up for the watch is, of course, the movement. So this is packing a Seiko VK63. Now, the reason I know this is because, well, of how the movement is laid down and also how the movement performs. So if you press the top pusher, you can see it springs and sweeps into life. And the reason I know it's a Seiko is because of, one, how it feels, and two, is because of the next bit I'm going to show you. So press the top pusher again, you can see it stops, and boom, it flings back into place. Now, if it was the Miyota equivalent, I can't speak, the chronograph hand would actually sweep back into place rather than snap back. So that's certainly one little telltale sign that this movement is a VK rather than the Miyota. But yeah, it's a nice movement. You've already seen, you know, the chronograph works really nice. It's really easy. The pushes feel good. You know, they've got a good feel to them, so all good there. The crown, you know, it's all right. You know, the grip's not the best, but it's easy to use and manipulate. I think the size is all right. And in action, you know, it's nice and smooth. You know, the VK is a really good movement. It's always nice and smooth. Always good, you know, to use on a daily basis if you need to, which, you know, obviously being a quartz, you don't. But when you do need to use it, it's really, really nice. Getting it back in, you know, it's really simple as well. And it just threads, no problem whatsoever. So yeah, great movement. Obviously, it's probably one of the highlights of this watch for the price point. So coming off a high down to a low is the loom. So it does have loom, the hands and the buttons I mentioned earlier, but it's not the best. It starts off okay and it quickly fades. And I just think that's because of the amount it has on. Because, you know, the area of where the loom can be placed is so small, there's only so much they can pack in. And I think obviously being an affordable watch, they don't use the highest grade of loom either, which does count against it. But again, you know, guys, this is an affordable watch. It's not gonna have amazing loom. Does it have it? Yes. Is it great? No. But you can't really expect too much, again, for the price point. So guys, wrapping up this review, what do we think of this one? Well, do you know what? It's got some good points. I like the dial, I think it's clean. Wish those hands were a little bit broader. And there was just a little bit more depth to the dial. I think it's just a little bit flat looking. Other than that though, it's nice. I love the functionality, I love the usability, and it's comfortable. The bracelet though is, you know, a bit of a mixed bag. You know, we've got that mixed finishing and that streaky polishing, which, you know, does tarnish it a little bit. So I think if you were going to get this one, I'd probably pop it on a nice leather strap instead. And I think that would probably make it look a little bit more premium than it does on this bracelet. And with it being 20mm, you should have got one in your collection already. You know, the finishing is fair, the build is pretty good. So yeah, all in all, I'm quite impressed. I mean, there's nothing, you know, really glaringly wrong with it, apart from the bracelet. But again, oh, and the loom. But again, you know, you can't really hold it against it too much for the price point. Speaking of, currently as I'm filming this on, what date are we on? And I've got watches all around me, but none of them are right. We are on the 9th of August filming this. Price point is £49 before tax. So I'll include all prices on screen now so you can actually see just how much they are, including and excluding taxes. So yeah, I think it's a pretty solid little offering for the price point. Is there better out there? Well, better watches, of course. Is there better ones of this at the same price? I'm yet to find one. So take that as you will, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the very next one. If you want to see more content on the channel, click the links you can see right now. Like the video if you enjoyed it, hit that bell so you don't miss any future content, and of course feel free to subscribe if you want to stay in touch with the channel. Thanks very much. Have a good one.